close to $5,000 in the last, more than $5,000.
Before the past few years started.
How much of an overall increase have you still had?
Funding or I'm pleased that the administration dug deep into their pockets and took out probably more than what they could afford. But what I'm not pleased with is that we have, and I'll be completely frank, we have a governor that has decided to acquiesce somewhat on educational commitments after only 3 years. We have a legislature that did the same. During a year whenever
Oklahoma City motorists have been warned it would happen for several months, and this morning Grand Avenue is shut down to make way for the West Bypass. Grand Avenue is a major north-south thoroughfare in northwest Oklahoma City. It carries about 60,000 cars a day, and transportation officials say that stream of traffic is growing. That Grand Avenue is only built to handle 40,000 cars, and the shutdown is a matter of now or later. Traffic will be routed around the road construction for about 3 years. State officials say similar projects normally take 6 years, but they want to accelerate the construction because of the extra load the shutdown will put on other city streets and because Grand Avenue is a major access road to Baptist Medical Center. During the construction, motorists will have to use other north-south routes. The nearest two are Portland Avenue, west of Grand, and May Avenue to the east. If those two roads get too congested, other routes could be chosen. The shutdown is only between 39th Street Expressway and Northwest Highway for the first phase of the work. Northwest Highway will remain open during the construction to maximize accessibility to Baptist Medical Center. Transportation officials also believe that Independence Avenue, which runs north from Northwest 50th, can handle nearly all of the hospital's emergency needs. If the project is completed late, the builders will have to pay a fine based on the length of the delay. Such insurances to have the project completed on time add to the normal cost of construction, but state officials say having the West Bypass completed quickly makes the extra cost of the project worthwhile. Charles Schnitzer, Action 4, at Grand Avenue.
Attorney General. We have not briefed any House members. What we'd like to do today is to
inmates, challenging them in groups of 130, 20, 30, up to 400 to 500 people. In that environment, we will have to determine whether or not we lost one life, whether or not we could have lost a multitude of lives, and what was reasonable judgment and what was unreasonable judgment. So not only do you have to establish who did what, but you have to establish whether or not that was reasonable for them to have taken the action that they did, or whether or not they knew that by firing a round that they were firing at someone, or whether or not that there would have been an accidental contact.
What we'd like to do today is to officially present to you what you already have, and that's
The district attorney's office, anyone else, to come in and to investigate. We're compelled under the law to report possible felonies, so we would report that automatically to the OS.
The main thing in the contract says that Dr. Burton will make sure that his treatment will continue after his death. He never has fulfilled that promise. The other thing is that the investment group that made an offer, which in my opinion was a very fair offer for the treatment program to come to Oklahoma, that was turned down by Dr. Burton. And so right now we have no hopes that Dr. Burton will ever come to the United States.
Meet for one thing, sometimes 2 or 3 years at a time. How would they know whether there's anything that legislation passed this year? I'll give you. We have had enough of the under-the-table dealings that are making rich men out of some of our public officials. We have had enough of the scandals which fill our newspapers and bring national scorn to this state. We have had enough, and we have done something about it.
Admitted to me
Well, it's conjecture now what was going to happen. The governor says under Article 25, Statute 24.1, that he may appoint anyone to fulfill a vacancy. That is by statute. That's what he's going by. But the Constitution sets up under Article 5, Statute 30. It says exactly that the House shall be the judge of its own election and its own members, and that is to be sure that there will be a separation of powers between the executive and legislative office.
Would you state your name, please, sir?
Philip David.
And family practice residency at the University of Oklahoma, 5 years.
Did you?
Happened to the child, and he stated that the baby had been sick for approximately 2 weeks, that the illness had been progressive, that the child had gotten weaker, that he had been unable to feed for the past 48 hours, I believe, and that he had simply gasped and quit breathing, and seemed to have choked immediately prior to my arrival.
Downtown Oklahoma City is a constantly changing picture. This is especially true in the business community. While more office buildings might be going up, the number of businesses in the downtown area is actually decreasing. The Oklahoma City Office of Research and Economic Development is conducting a survey to study how many businesses are leaving downtown. Consequently, the vacancy rate in office buildings is much higher than anticipated. And because of the office building glut, companies are seeing leasing prices steadily drop.
We expect to see leasing rates, of course, continue to drop somewhat. We've seen indications of that already. With the oversupply and the lack of demand, we've seen many of the leasing agencies already drop the rates anywhere from $2 to $5 a square foot. So we expect, unless there's a turnaround in the economy and we see more businesses coming back down, with that oversupply, we'll continue to see either rates drop or stabilize probably at this point, and certainly not go up any further.
The city survey will also examine salaries of downtown workers, and the information gathered should suggest ways of bringing businesses back to the heart of the city. Ed Stewart, Action 4.
Reverend Moon is innocent. 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 Reverend Moon is innocent.
We will take this case to the Supreme Court to prove that not only Reverend Moon is innocent, but the kind of case that he is in involves every minister and every church. So we're actually fighting we're not only fighting a battle for Reverend Moon, but we feel that we're really fighting a battle for against religious prejudice in general.
Some 900 people packed a dining room to hear Oklahoma City Mayor Andy Coates detail how the city is doing. It was the annual State of the City address. The city's chief executive had several areas of concern he shared with the crowd. Water was at the top of the list. We have plenty of it, only an outdated system makes it difficult to distribute the high demand. Sewers are another problem. The average age of an inner-city sewer line is more than 50 years old. Mayor Coates says Oklahoma City has been neglecting sewer line maintenance and replacement too long. There was praise for an understaffed police department. The mayor complimented 750 officers who must patrol 621 square miles. And because of budget woes this year, the department lost 32 members. The budget axe also fell on the fire department. It too lost valuable manpower to fight fires. Mayor Coates told the audience a penny sales tax might be the answer.
The advantages in many cities like Tulsa have gone to a third penny sales tax. They do so, I think, for several reasons. First of all, and I think this is important, 40% of that sales tax is paid for by people who don't live in Oklahoma City, but who use our streets and our public services. And it seems to me only proper that if we're going to approach some financing, that we ought to give them an opportunity to share in the pleasure of building new streets and sewers and water systems. If you want us to go forward and to make some substantial improvements in the city, it seems to me that you must tell us, and we will try to do what it is we sense from you as your elected representatives that you want done.
Coates added Oklahoma City has become a big city, and that means advantages as well as disadvantages. But until the city gets over some financial humps, the future won't be as bright as it can be. Ed Stewart, Action 4.
I will recommend to the legislature that they appropriate up to an amount of $5 million to the Corrections Department to address any specific needs at Connors in regard to the riot and any other needs that they might feel from our experience here that we should address in other correctional institutions.
Further increases in residential and commercial sales.
This is the landmark case in a whole change in the communication industry in America. The way the commissions around the country decide to deal with AT&T divestiture right now and the new companies is going to have impact for years and years to come on rate structures. So it's a landmark case and it's a big dollar case.
State FOP's been just great to us. There's no doubt about it. Been amazing about 2 years. You guys obviously kind of look up to this leader. Bad condition or giving us trouble, and we could lock him up and keep him out of the population where he's causing trouble for.
I think Major Bishop embarrassed the department by predicting what was going to happen from his point of view. He did this as a director of his lodge, as he is voted on, and they asked him to make the statement, and he did that, and now he's paying the price for it. And I think that embarrassment is more than anything. It's what is hurting the Department of Corrections.
In a masterclass, it's difficult because it's students that you haven't seen before. So you try and give as many corrections and as many things that you can see as quickly as possible. You know, it's difficult to give a lot in an hour and a half or 2 hours. But, you know, if you can give just one really good correction that they understand, you know, you're ahead.
The economic condition, I guess I should, obligation bonds of the state of Oklahoma, and also facility back online as quickly and as cheaply as we possibly. Section 3.
To rebuild something. I cannot understand, Senator Young, why we would take the pensioners' money of law-abiding citizens who have worked all their years at the service of the people of Oklahoma and waste it frivolously on a bunch of convicts that don't appreciate it.
The medical staff have performed heroically, as have, I believe, the correctional and other staff. But they are having to work at 150% of their capacity, 200% of their capacity, and after a while you just can't keep up that crisis mentality responding to these problems.
The Oklahoma City General Motors assembly plant fascinated thousands of people during its open house. In 1 hour, visitors witnessed 75 cars produced to perfection. This was an opportunity for the general public to see the birth of an automobile. GM's Diamond Jubilee also marks a resurgence in the American auto industry. J.A. and Mildred Yingling were impressed with what they saw today.
Well, I think it's wonderful, and I just wish more people would see it, because I think they get kind of an idea of what a car is all about, maybe a little bit better.
The accuracy of everything they're doing is just out of this world. In fact, I could spend 6 months in here if I had a chance.
All GM plants across the country are celebrating the company's birthday this week. Officials use the open house to show off their 1984 models at the end of the tour, hoping that not only are people interested in looking at new cars, but buying them as well. Ed Stewart, Action 4.
Other people are opposed to it because we don't have a grand design to solve the whole corrections problem. Well, we can't do that in a week's time, and I don't think our people or any of us want to stay up here right now to try to solve the whole problem. So I would ask you to go ahead and let's vote for this bill. It's a stopgap thing of what we can do at no new money expense, resolve the problem, and go on home. Thank you.
The problem could be particularly serious at the fair because most of the food concessions don't have running water for employees to wash their hands with. So health department inspectors have ordered all food booths to provide buckets of chlorine water for employees to sanitize their hands in. Inspectors are checking every concession several times a day to make sure they comply.
No, I thought we only had bleach and disinfect. Does bleach got to be in a hand wash?
Yeah.
Okay.
Health department officials say they don't want an epidemic of hepatitis at the state fair.
We've been told to really crack down on the hand washing here for the fair, just to make sure that something like that doesn't happen.
Health officials held a school yesterday to teach all the food booth managers how to use the chlorine water for hand sanitation. But checks today showed some concessions still weren't doing it correctly.
That's about a gallon, so you go about a half a cap.
About a half, a little under. We'll try that. About a half a cap. Okay, try that. And mix it around in there. Go ahead.
The health department will have inspectors watching the food booths from the minute the fair opens each day until the crowds leave at night. Continental employees at Will Rogers World Airport got the word at 6 o'clock that all flights would stop. So they stopped and cleared the counter, but not before hanging the signs of a falling airlines. The word canceled was posted next to all flights in air after 7 o'clock Eastern Time. There were many other signs of desertion. Telephones were taken off the hook to end the constant ringing from customers concerned about grounded flights. And the computers, once lit with pages of numbers, went black. J.A. Connaughton punched that final off button on the computers tonight. He told Action 4 Oklahoma City's Continental employees have been told not to come back to work. The news hit him hard, but not real hard, since only 2 years ago he went through this as a Braniff employee. Connaughton hopes this time the airlines and his job are only being put on standby.
I don't see anything like Braniff happening. It just, you know, there's too much involved. Braniff was Braniff by itself, and the Texas Air Corporation owns Continental, and so it's an entity all in itself.
Connaughton says he doesn't know the details behind the filing for reorganization. He says he, along with the rest of the nation, will have to wait until Monday, when the airlines makes a formal statement. Sherry Sellers, Action 4 at Will Rogers World Airport.
Works compete with each other. It was really a
Mike Wallace interviewing.
sensitive about that.
I want to find why we didn't, in all respects, do our job in DHS as well as I think it might have been done. I've sent an interim comment on the Children and Youth Commission's report in which I indicated that my early indication is that there was that was not the normal working relationship for our staff relative to this facility.
In this case, our witness tells us that the company ought to be entitled to earn a 13% return on equity, and the company is actually earning just about at that level. Of course, we haven't gone into all the accounting adjustments that the staff has looked at, but on return on equity, on construction work in progress, and on cash working capital, the three items that we looked at, we come out saying that this company is doing just fine, and it really is not entitled to a rate increase at this time.
So they either had to give a waiver because they didn't have the number of bathrooms, they didn't have the amount of space. But you have to remember that these mostly were very small children in cribs. And because of that, they gave waivers. Now, the paper almost didn't imply, it almost stated that these waivers were granted for political reasons. The reason the waivers were granted was because unless you granted the waiver, you closed the place down. It couldn't meet standards. And we don't have any other place to put those children.
It was a quiet demonstration at the state capitol today. No chants of unity, no songs of deliverance. The demonstrators were deaf, and they were protesting the CBS network. CBS is the only one of the major networks or the public broadcasting system that does not provide closed caption programming for the deaf. The National Association for the Deaf says CBS has developed a system that prints dialogue across the screen, but it eliminates the picture. The CBS adapters are not available yet, and they are not compatible with the system already used by NBC, ABC, and PBS. The hearing-impaired customer will have to buy 2 separate systems instead of the one system many of them already own.
Their excuse for doing that is that they believe it will benefit the hearing as well as the deaf. But you know, you're taking away also entertainment as well as a means of education and information to the deaf. When you take away the picture, why shouldn't they enjoy a movie the same as you or I do?
This protest corresponds with others like it across the country. The deaf television viewers say they will boycott CBS programming today, and they hope the hearing viewers will support them and do the same. They hope that will get the message across to the people who head CBS, that 16 million deaf Americans want to watch CBS programming, but for now at least, their handicap prevents it. Charles Schnitzer, Action 4, at the state capitol.